Hiya, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. Sorry, I just turned the sound off my computer there because it was like reminder on my email that that I had this at 2 o'clock. It's like bing bong.
I know I've just muted my own other laptop here, just in
Well,
case I get
actually, good shout. I'll do the laptop as well.
too much tech going on.
I know, both machines. How are you? You well?
Yeah, really well. Thank you so much for inviting me on. This is exciting.
Oh, thank you for joining. I was just saying there, I'm trying to get a good cross section of all different businesses, business types, niches, industries, business models, online, offline, just sort of so we can get a good mix of everyone because the stories behind the businesses are just absolutely fascinating. And yours especially is incredibly interesting because of what it involves. So I'll run through, I'll give everyone a bit of a sort of intro as to who you are, what you do, and then we can kind of get into sort of Q&A element as well. So just to kind of give you a roundup, so Lorna's had a wealth of experience in running networking events. She's created events over the last few years in Glasgow, and she's created her own unique brand of business networking events called Bizmixer, with the aim of encouraging business owners to get together regularly, support one another, whilst providing some short form of short business training at each event, which is absolutely so powerful, so valuable. And we all know that networking in itself is invaluable to us as we look to sort of grow businesses as business owners. Being in an all-important entrepreneurial environment is just it's so powerful, and it's something that we'll delve deeper into. But I'll hand over to you now, Lorna, so you can sort of introduce yourself and probably do yourself a bit more justice than I have, and maybe you can tell us how you first came up with the idea for BizMixer.
No, not at all. I think you've done a cracking job of introducing me there, probably better than what I could do. Employ you to do my messaging. So yeah, I'm Lorna Lyon, and I set up Bizmixer like about over a year ago now. So it was the start of 2020. But as you said, I've been involved in networking for a few years before that. Running events for somebody else in Glasgow, so it wasn't really like my own business or anything. It was doing it for somebody else, and trying to attend networking events prior to that. And this, when I very first started the networking, I I had a full-time job. I wasn't really interested in entrepreneurship. Well, I had an interest in it, but it was more about how do I find other entrepreneurs to surround myself with, because I kind of knew that I wanted to do something different, but I had no idea like where to start or where to get
Yeah.
ideas from or all the rest of it. So that's a little bit of the kind of backstory.
Yeah.
What was your question? Sorry,
It
I'm
was
going
kind
off
of
on a
like how you,
tangent here.
yeah, no, it was how you first came up with the idea for the business, but I guess you can kind of roll into sort of telling us what your mission was at the start of setting up this mixer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So if I go back to that was the reason why I started networking in the first place, and being kind of fresh faced, I'd never really come across some of the reasons why people wouldn't necessarily go to networking, or some of the fears that people have with networking. It was only really when I got into
It's
it that I
me.
realised that I think I managed to find myself in like a really nice group of people at the start. And then I started running events for somebody else, mainly because for selfish reasons that I was a single parent at the time. I only had one night every week that I could get out. My son Nathan was at his dad's house that night. And because I had no other babysitters any other nights of the week. And there was nothing on a Tuesday night. So I was like, I put my hat, somebody was looking for somebody to organise this event that I'd been desperate to get along to, and couldn't. So I took over the running of it just so that I could put an event on at a time that suited me. So it started off a little bit selfishly. But it just meant that I got to meet so many incredible entrepreneurs, and it was set up in I was very much of the welcoming people in. Like, I can be a huge introvert at times, like very nervous at group situations. So, you know, I don't think I even like turned up to my first networking event that I signed up to because I ended up bottling it at the
Yeah.
end. So I was very acutely aware that that is a major stumbling block for people. And so that is kind of my mission, is to almost take some of that, some of what people are worry about with networking and take that out of it,
Yeah.
and really try and focus in on, you know, I think people automatically think that a networking event is about selling yourself,
Hmm.
whereas there's so many other benefits to it, and that's the part that I'm really trying to hone in on, and almost try and communicate to people that it's so much more than that, and that is not our main focus.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think that's key. I know I'm like I'm laughing because I'm one of the ones that it's like the very thought of networking, I'm like, oh, because it's like, I'm great with this, like, I'm great online, I can talk to the cows come home. Put me in front of someone in real life, and it's like, I just crumble. I'm like, honestly, I'm just useless. So it's quite funny because, you know, I've always historically thought of networking events as, you know, being in marketing as well. Like, oh, I'm not going, you know, going with that mindset of like, oh, there'll be loads of other marketing people there. And, you know, the people with the blonde hair and the red lipstick will win over me all day long, because who's gonna want to come and speak to me, because they're gonna be, you know, sucked over to there. And it's like the loudest voice wins almost. And because I'm not very, you know, in that situation, it's like, well, what's the point in going? Because I'm never going to get a share of voice. And that's the thing that terrifies me about physical events, which you're saying, like, you're interested to see that people had such big fears around it.
I was, or had so many preconceived ideas about what it was going to be like. And I think, you know, there's certain companies out there that focus on this referral marketing model, and that's the
Oh,
way
yeah.
that you should be going. Whereas I was trying to curate something a little bit different.
Hmm.
Almost like it is a little bit like a support group. These are almost the people that you come along to speak with and build relationships with, but
Hmm.
they're there to help and support you. They're there to find collaboration with as well.
Yeah,
And, you know, I think the online world of networking now takes away some of that fear of
it really does.
people sticking to these cliques and groups, because there's nothing
Yeah,
worse than hanging in the outside of a group and being
yeah.
like, how do I try and like make my way in here?
That fear of like approaching a group of people is like, oh. Yeah,
Absolutely.
you're right. With the online world, that doesn't happen now, does it?
It doesn't, no, not at all. And you're kind of like forced to maybe speak to people. Well, not forced, but it then means that you're actually getting to speak to a whole range of people that you wouldn't necessarily speak to if you yourself were always stuck in that kind of same clique. And it helps
Yeah.
other people come into the group and really bed in. So I think, you know, that is one of the major benefits. I know others might not like that. They might like to decide where they're going and what group that they're going to, and there's other
Yeah.
platforms that you can do that on. But yeah, that's the kind
But
of
again, nowadays with technology, you know, if people have got preconceived little groups that they like to speak to, there's nothing, you know, back in the day, it would have been very difficult to sort of get together. You know, you'd have physically have to get together. You know, WhatsApp, you can have a WhatsApp group, or, you know, so many different technologies now that if you are stuck to certain people or you click with certain people, you can create that yourself to the side, can't you, really?
yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, and then benefit from platforms like yourself to get exposure and meet and build on that community aspect. It's just, I think it's just amazing. As someone who terrified, like, you've completely changed my mind on it. So
Well,
hopefully
glad of
that's the
that,
same for
Pamela.
others. Yeah, yeah. So has your mission then changed in any way as you've kind of sort of set up the company and grown it? Because obviously you kind of started this off, and then we had lockdown. Because am I right in thinking it kind of somewhat started off physically, like in person, and then kind of went virtual?
Yeah, no, absolutely. My whole business plan at the start of 2020 was to, start in Glasgow, but I almost wanted to try and bring networking events out to like different areas, because there's nothing worse than living like, half an hour, 45 minutes away and thinking, oh, I've got to travel all the way into the city centre, or, the places where you normally found events. And so that was kind of the plan, to try and, take it out into kind of smaller areas, almost into your sort of council area in Scotland.
Yeah.
And expand it across kind of Scotland that way. But I always had in my business plan in January 2020 that I was going to take it online, and it was going to happen in April.
Spooky.
It's so weird. Like, see when I pulled it out, like my plan of the first six months, because I do that like start of the year, start of the quarter, I write what I'm going to do, and then it's like, okay.
I think there's probably so many entrepreneurs out there that are a little bit like, oh, according to my plan or according to my vision board, I perhaps like inadvertently manifested COVID.
Absolutely. So
yeah, no.
I'd almost planned to do it, so I already knew that I was going to be using Zoom and all the rest of it. But what it has done is really helped kind of solidify people using it, because I kind of thought that the online networking would be a smaller part of what I did. It was another option to make it accessible to people. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's just,
and now it's your bread and butter.
It's my bread and butter. Yeah, it's completely changed. So
I think that's great. So when you took that first step into business, did you experience that crippling self-doubt that everybody talks about? Like, did you almost not do it?
Oh God, yeah. So I'd left the other networking group. I did my last event in October 2019 for them. And when I was actually away on holiday, when I was like, I need to set up on my own. I think this is the way that I want to do. I had already tried to set up an online business before that point. Like I was I'm quite, with my day job, I'm really interested in sort of career development for women, and especially those in their 20s. And I was wanting to do something around that. And I did all the tech and built everything in the background, had a membership site ready to get going.
Oh my gosh.
Just couldn't, like, the imposter syndrome and the absolute crippling fear of trying to push the button on that, I just couldn't do it for some reason. And I think that was another part of like organising events before that, and taking over running the Facebook group for somebody. Because, 4 years ago, like I struggled to even post a picture on my personal page on social media, never mind for a business. Just that overwhelming anxiety about what people are going to think and what they're going to say. I blame being brought up in a small island community where everybody has an opinion on everything.
Oh yeah.
And thinks it's their right to have that opinion for that, but that's another story. But yeah, so running events for somebody else actually helped me get over that, and it's easier to do something for somebody else than it is to do it for yourself.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I have been through years of crippling anxiety. Well, I'm 36, and I kind of first had the idea of running a business at 30, so it's taken me years to get to this point. So I kind of set up the business name in October 2019, and I was hemming and hawing about it for November and December, being like, is this really what I want to do? And it just got to the point where, Lorna, just do it. What's the worst that can happen? Take 2020. If it's a disaster, then switch it off and go and do something else. But you've got to do this, otherwise you're going to really regret it. So that's
yeah, no, everybody has that at the start. It's like, and it's amazing how many amazing, fantastic ideas never get off a page. They just forever live there in someone's like journal or jotter or whatever, and it just never never come to fruition. And like you say with regrets, the biggest regret you then have is when you see 2 years later someone doing exactly that and like kicking ass in it, and you're like, oh, that could have been me.
Yeah.
If only I'd done it, you know.
If only, I know. And I still get that. I'm like, if only I'd started earlier, or if
I
only I'd gotten
know.
that other business off the ground, like, look where I could have been.
Yeah.
But you know, you could, that's what kind of then keeps spurring me on to the next bit, I think, is knowing that I don't want to feel like that I need to keep on going and keep taking action to kind of move myself forward and keep
Absolutely.
that momentum is a big thing, isn't
It
it?
is huge. Consistency and momentum. It is. It's like building a snowball, isn't it? It's like, you know, just keep pushing and it's just gonna, but you've got to keep the faith the whole way, haven't you? And just keep going, keep going. Sometimes it's like rolling a boulder up a hill, you know, it's like you've got to get to that point and then it's like, whee!
Oh, I think you'll always still have wee hills to go up and down.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's always, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, roller coaster. Certainly one thing that I've admired watching your journey, I think we started business in a similar time with content clarity, and I've loved watching how you have literally taken something. And I was watching it and that on the sidelines, I'm like, networking, I'm like, that's like my biggest like arch nemesis, like, oh, the thought of doing it, you know, kryptonite. And just watching how you've actually taken something that, like you said, was a massive fear for so many people and like literally flipped it on its head, because traditional networking, you know, BNI, the 6 a.m. crowd, the bacon roll at the local hotel and all that sort of stuff, and bring 2 introductions every week, otherwise you'll get kicked out. And, you know, if you're gonna use a marketer, you have to use the one that's in the, like, it's just all these like rules and, you know, 6 a.m. Who wants to go get up at 6 a.m.? I was just like, oh, no, 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 no. You've literally taken that and broken the mold, and you've just thrown that in the bin and almost like redesigned it. And I'm glad you have, because the opportunities that come off the back of networking are huge. You know, it's like you say, community, exposure, collaboration. You don't take part, if you're not involved in the conversation, you're missing out on so much. Mm-hmm. But that fear, you've just eliminated it, I think. So I don't know if you want to maybe like tell us a bit more about the membership, about Bizmixer, and what you can expect from it in terms of how it differs from traditional networking. So if anyone's watching this and they're like, yeah, traditional networking, no, like standing in the corner of a room, scared to death, you know. No, what is it that you get with your version of networking?
Yeah, so to start off with, it's a membership, as well as it's not pay as you go. You can't really come and just well, you could sign up for a month and then like disappear again, because it's really centered around this, as you said, building a community. And you can't just like show up a couple of times and then that's it. And I think that's the way things are moving with networking, that it is like people have got to sort of change their thoughts on how they even approach going to networking. And I actually think that the way in which Instagram runs is very much like what my networking, or the sort of ethos that I try to put across on the Bizmixer membership as part of networking. Uh-huh. You know, you come onto Instagram and there's so many different people there, so many people to choose from, and you start interacting with these people. They might not be like your ideal client or your ideal audience, but that's not necessarily the point, because if you saw one of my infographics the other day, it's almost like you've got to kind of connect with lots of different people, and then eventually you'll trickle down to finding who your kind of ideal audience is. So, and I think that is kind of one of the key things with networking, and the whole thing with Instagram as well, is that a lot of conversations happen in the DMs. It all goes down in the DMs. You kind of know people, and then you speak to people in the DMs, you build up relationships with them. networking needs to be viewed in the same sort of way. Like, you go to meetings and you speak to people face to face, and you really kind of get to know that person. And you do connect on social media. You go away, you connect with them, but then they're then part of your community, that are then the ones that are sharing your posts or liking your posts, commenting on stuff that you're doing. They might tell somebody else about you, or any other way. So it's not like there's a focus on recommendation or referral. It just sort of happens. And
it's more organic,
it's
natural.
organic, yep. And it's the exact same way that it happens on sort of Instagram. So that's the sort of ethos, that trying to get that across. But it's also, there's the learning aspect of it as well. And it's the trying to connect you with people that you wouldn't necessarily expect, like experts in their field that can help you with your business, which is why quite often we'll have either a guest speaker at one of the Mixer events. So there's 3 Mixer events every month that we actually do sort of breakout room networking. And we sometimes have a guest speaker along. And then we've also got a training workshop at the end of every month, like a masterclass type thing. So that's more focused on the learning rather than, it doesn't really have any element of networking in it. And it's really that sort of why we've given value back. And also because you've been speaking, or you've had somebody speaking about a specific topic, it acts as a talking point in one of the breakout rooms, because there's nothing worse than going to a networking event and being partnered with somebody and being like, I have nothing to talk to you about. Oh, hi, what have you done? Oh yeah, I've done this. This is who I am. Right, okay, what do we talk about now? And quite a lot of the time, if you do that, it's very surface level chat. Whereas if you've got something to focus on and talk about, you can actually get much deeper in the conversation, and a better understanding of what each other do when you've actually got that sort of value piece to discuss with somebody, rather than your surface level chat or pitching. Like, we do not pitch. You do not come in and do your 60-second introductory thing and
elevator pitch.
No, because I talk to people about this all the time, because, and especially our groups are fairly smallish numbers. Like, I do kind of close the networking group and then I'll reopen it for new members. So there's not, you're not looking into a room of 50 people. Because there are events like that, you'll walk in, you'll be online, and there's 50 people to get round, like a 30 or 60-second introductory pitch. Are you really paying attention to everybody? And then by the time it starts to get round to your turn, you're then worrying about what you have to say.
Yeah.
And
especially if you're at the end, it's like, by that point, everyone's like, falling asleep.
Exactly. So you're doing this whole, all right, okay, I'll listen in for the first couple, and then you're like, oh, right, okay, this is getting a bit okay. And then you're like, oh, hang on a minute, it's nearly my turn. What am I saying? And you're thinking about that, and then you're like, duh. And then you're like, oh, thank goodness for that. And you're thinking about, it's all kind of focused on you. So I don't think you get the benefit of doing that. Yeah. I know some people love to do that, but we don't.
No, I don't. I certainly don't. And that's the thing. It's like, traditional networking, I guess, will always have a place for the people who love that. But just watching, it's not just like the introverts, but even it's a generational thing. If you look at the younger people that are coming in, they're almost like inherently introverted in a way, because they don't want that. Like, they don't want to pick up the phone, they just want to type, or they just, so actually it's brilliant, because it's almost future proof. Because I would honestly say traditional networking's a bit archaic, and it's probably on its way out. It's like a dying breed.
Yeah, there's certainly more of what I do. I don't think it'll ever die out because I do think certain people really love that referral networking environment. And for some businesses, it's really great. Like, see if you are like an electrician or a plumber or something like that. Those types of referral networking businesses can work really well for your business. So there's maybe less of it, but there's now far more choice, and I think there is something for everybody out there, which is great. But and there's something for everybody depending on your personality or your preference or whatever. I probably attract quite an awful lot of introverts because I would probably say that I'm quite introverted at times, and certainly anybody that is we don't really have people that are kind of loud and brash and want to be like this the center of attention. I don't really attract those type of people.
The introverts always find each other, don't
they? Come to me. So yeah, so I've kind of started playing on that a little bit, of realizing that that's actually a real benefit for people to know that I'm quite
it's a safe space. Yeah,
safe space for you to come along, find your fellow introverts.
Oh, your sound went there.
One of those phone calls, nothing important.
Yeah, I would think PPI. Jim's saying, I see the elevator pitch as a rite of passage now.
Yep, you can do that. And I suppose it's the same as your pitch or your messaging on anywhere else, so long as you can have it and have it there just to if you need
it's always handy, right? Because everyone always says, what is it you do? And you're like, don't know, working content marketing, full stop. That's it. It's like, it's almost good to have and be able to just riff it off, because even at school gates, if someone asks you, you know what I mean, it's like
oh, hang on.
Oh, I'm just I just work at home. So would you say that social media has really helped you in growing your platform then over the last year?
Oh, absolutely. And I suppose I was starting off from scratch with Instagram, because prior to that I was all on LinkedIn and in that other Facebook group. So I had to start from scratch, and I actually made a real conscious decision to break that link there and move over to Instagram, because I saw the similarities in the networking that I wanted to do and that platform, but I also wanted to distance myself from that other networking group that I'd been associated with, because it was for women, whereas although Bizmixer attracts a lot of women, there are still, we do have male members as well, and it is open to whoever wants to join, so I didn't niche on gender. So yeah, it has been monumental. Like, I don't think that people would know me if I wasn't on Instagram. It's certainly the way that people find me. And yeah, so it has been absolutely fantastic for that way. Also, interestingly, there's been a couple of new members come into the group recently, and they're like, you have all different members compared to the other networking groups that we go to, because you sometimes find that the same faces pop up at so many different groups. And I was like, well, there's not that many networking groups that are focusing on Instagram for growth. And I think I then managed to capture slightly different people than what you would normally find as well. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would agree with you there. When it comes to like LinkedIn and stuff like that, it is that more sort of corporate, again, traditional kind of, it can, and there's people that would argue with me that LinkedIn's got huge potential for like creative entrepreneurs and things like that, but it's like, I think it's a tougher nut to crack than Instagram, especially when it comes to enjoyment of the individual as well, because it's like, are you going to enjoy posting over there, or are you going to prefer the engagement over on Instagram if you're creative? So
yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it really, although I sometimes think, given my financial services background, that I'm not creative, I think I do actually have quite a lot of creativity that's been desperate to get out. So
Yeah.
this is a great outlet, and you know, Instagram lets people know who you are an awful lot
Yeah.
more. You know, so I think that's been really good as well with the
Yeah,
pictures.
definitely. I've seen the longest 60 seconds of your life. The elevator pitch. Oh, yeah, yep, definitely. It is quite long when you think about it, 60 seconds. You could probably say it in 15, and then it's like blind panic mode at that point, isn't it?
Yeah, or use 3 words to describe what you do. Oh, that's probably too
I
many.
don't know.
If you were only
Harry Styles. Two to three. No, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. If you could go back to the start and do it all again, is there anything that you would change?
Oh, I don't know. That is a really good question. I'm not sure. Like in hindsight, there's always things that you could be doing differently. Um, but probably not, because I think the journey has gotten you to where you are just now.
Hmm.
You know, there's always stuff that you can be, oh, I wish I'd like sold more or marketed it more or did this, that, or the next thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't ever look back and think, oh, I wish I'd done something differently. I don't know. Like, is this? Do people normally have like
I
lots?
don't think so. Yeah, I think it's a fairly similar answer. And again, it's like, what's happened, what's happened, and that is the journey that's gotten you to where you are right now. And if it wasn't for those, even the bad experiences or the panic moments,
Yeah, yeah,
it's what's got you here, I think everybody freaked when COVID hit last March, but actually it's shaped so many journeys in business to where they are now. And I don't think anybody would, not that we would say like, oh yeah, can we have another global pandemic, please? But, nobody would ever wish for that. But it's like, it happened. And actually for a lot of people, it's shaped, the entire journey for them and the growth and success. So
yeah. No, absolutely. And I think, well, maybe it's more in mindset. I think at the start of 2020, what I says, oh, give it a year, and if you've not gotten to da da da, then just pack it all in. And I think what I now realise is that it takes much longer than a year to really
yeah.
establish yourself as a business, unless you're going full on. Like I still have a job, so I'm trying to
Hmm.
juggle both this business and my job. But that whole realization that your first proper year in business, that's your foundational year, and from there you can build on it.
Yeah.
That is probably one of the biggest pieces of advice that I wish that I had realized, and to stop worrying about things along in that first year, because you're really just testing and learning, testing and learning.
Yes. Yes. It's the test and learn phase. It totally is. And something I always kick myself about is leaving gaps between trying something else, and it's like, just fire them out and see what works. The sooner you get through that test phase, the sooner you
Yeah.
can scale, it's absolutely crazy. Jerry's saying, dear God, but I'm sure that's at the fact that I mentioned Harry Styles. Anytime I mention him, she's like, for goodness sake. Eye roll moment. So what would you say was your moment in the whole journey where you sort of thought, oh my God, this is actually working? Especially if you've got a full-time job. I mean, obviously it's like, you want this to work, right? So when did you kind of think, shit?
So I think when I actually launched the membership last May time, that was so scary, because I wanted to get away from this constantly having to try and promote individual events and move on to a membership model and build this community. And that was it was terrifying. I got myself a coach to get myself through it. Couldn't have done it without investing in a coach. And like when I got all these members in, and people started paying me money for this and signing up for an annual membership. I was just like, oh my God. Like, I was like, oh, if I get 10 people, then, you know. And so it was just really nice, and such a brilliant feeling at that point to think this is actually a viable model, and I can actually like run with this and build from this point in time. And, you know, I might not be at the point of which I'm ditching the day job just yet, but I can see where it's going. And I almost at the start of this year made a kind of concerted effort to try and stop being a consumer of content, and to stop trying to be in that learning mode, and try and put myself out there more as the person to go to, almost stepping up into that leadership or expert role that people feel that, you know, to make a difference. That I think that's what you need to do. And that has been a massive shift in mindset, but also makes a massive difference, I think, to how you run your business and the people that are then attracted to you.
Definitely.
If that makes sense.
Oh, for sure. And that's exactly it. It's like with content you put out, the marketing you put out, that's the whole point of it, right? It's not there to just be fluff and stuff. It's there to attract people to you, you know, and help them get through all the objections and finally buy from you. So yeah, if you're covering all the bases and stuff like that, and it is difficult, because if you consume a lot of content, you then kind of almost lose your originality, your voice, because you're consuming too much. And it's difficult to sort of switch off from it and be like, no, I'm not going to park it to one side. And it's distinguishing platforms. So like you say, if Instagram's your platform, know that, you know, that's great. But if you want to switch off and still scroll, fire on TikTok or something like that, where it's not going to be business stuff, it's just going to be cats and that man that we shall not name again, because Jerry will lose her mind. So have you outsourced anything in your business yet at all, or are you still doing everything yourself?
Funny you should say that, because I am just about to outsource stuff to a virtual assistant, which I have been desperate to do. But and somebody else gave me this really good piece of advice as well, like kind of almost make sure that you sort of know how to do the stuff anyway before you outsource. And, you know, I've been working in the job that I do, I've got like procedure notes on how to do stuff. So apparently I'm a VA's dream.
But I was told that as well, because I'm so organised with my Trello board and a month ahead and stuff. And, you know, yeah, my VA is like, holy shit.
So I'm about to just lift and hand over some of the more administration tasks that I have to do. So that is the step, and I know that is the step to build in, because there's other stuff that I want to get on, and like working on your business.
Yeah, for sure.
Trying to outsource some of that it will be great.
Yeah, it'll be huge. What does your employer think of your side hustle? Do they know about it, or, you know, do they have an opinion?
They certainly know about it. Not many people really discuss it, but there are a couple of people that I know follow me that work in my organisation, and I'm like, and actually, yeah, so really, because one of the guys actually has his own side hustles, and his on Instagram, it's both our business accounts that we're like following each other on, so. No, I just and I have my day off every second week that I work on my business, which is great. So
yeah,
for anybody watching, this is my late lunch today, by the way.
I'll be working till 6. Oh dear me. So if you had one piece of advice for someone who's just starting out, especially that sort of like self-doubt first step moment, what would it be?
I would say find other people and get yourself a community, because I think it's one of the loneliest things to do, because you feel so on your own. You feel absolutely on your own, and that you're the only person that's going through this. Whereas, you know, if you find your people, then they will help and support you through that. And I think that is one of the key things. Like, I don't know, maybe I did it all the wrong way of starting going to networking events before I even had a business. I don't know. That just seems sensible to me.
Learning experiences.
I don't know.
No regrets, ever.
No regrets, not at all.
So what businesses do you look up to for inspiration?
Oh,
So many.
it's so many. And so many for so many different reasons, because I think you can, if you're following the same sort of people all the time, then you find that the content is just the same over and over again. Whereas if you kind of, you know, skew out into a different industry, you can get ideas or inspiration or a different perspective on things. So that's been really helpful for me, but also just seeing how other people have evolved and how they're growing. There's a load of us, yourself included, that's all started roughly at the same time last year, all came onto the scene at that point, or had to pivot. And it's been great to watch as people learn. And I think, you know, it is just being mindful that, you know, sometimes being in the same group of people all the time will not help you grow, and just knowing when to recognise that and think, all right, actually, you know, if it's on social media, you're seeing the same people all the time, you're like, right, who can I go and find somewhere else or stumble across that will give you inspiration for different things. But I
think that's true, very true, especially if you're hitting a sort of growth phase in your business where it's like, okay, I want to bust this income ceiling, or, you know, grow my audience, or whatever it might be, or start offering different services. You know, all of a sudden you want to maybe now do courses or whatever it might be. It's always worthwhile then going, okay, so who's doing that already and who's doing it well, surrounding yourself with those people. Because then, like you say, if you surround yourself with that sort of entrepreneurial vibe and spirit, it, you know, it rubs off. It does. But if you keep surrounding yourself with people, you know, that are nowhere near that, then it you know, holds you back, but kind of in a way, you know, because you don't, you know, it almost seems like it's not possible then.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Or you kind of being a bit like, oh, well, nobody else around me is doing that, so
fear factor, comfort zone.
It's the comfort zone. So I think, you know, going out and finding those people, and that's certainly what's kind of changed for a lot of me as well, and thinking, no, I can actually do something a bit different, because I am doing other things with Bizmixer, and, you know, there's probably lots of changes coming up in the next 6 months for me as I've grown and evolved and all the rest of it. I'll more to be TBC on what that exactly looks like. But I think just getting that inspiration from other people, and Instagram is where I get like a ton of inspiration from, but also just seeing what everybody else is doing in the club, and, you know, people like you as well, Pamela. Like, I remember when you blasted on the scene, and, you know, your content was just amazing, and it was so,
thank you.
Like, it was just like, oh wow, look, this person's doing this, and oh, she's in Scotland as well. Do you know, I sometimes you can't, you're like, oh, but they're in the US and this is what they're doing, or they're like away down south or whatever, and you know, that's for people there. Whereas, you know, seeing your fellow Scots like
there's definitely a Scottish thing, isn't there? It's like, you know, Scottish people always support other Scottish people. There's definitely a vibe there.
No.
I know, I should make it a bit more obvious. You know, it's like charging in dollars is maybe not a good move. I debate that one daily. I'm like, it's not really screaming Scottish, is it? Never mind.
If it's not is Gemma still on here? And she's the one that says, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Right, we're going to go into a quick fire round, and then I'm going to go into the questions that have been sent in. So if anybody's watching, if they want to add some questions on to the end of that sort of Q&A element, then fire them in the comments now, and we'll get to those at the end. But first up, quick fire social media shorties, as I call it. So what's your favorite platform?
Instagram.
Yeah, yeah. Video or podcast?
I like a video. I think video.
Yeah, snap. Live or pre-recorded?
Live, but I wish I could do more pre-recorded. For me, or
Yeah.
watching other people.
For you?
Yeah, I tend to do more live, but I think pre-recorded is the future.
Yeah, yeah. It's the future.
That requires script and to be organised and that.
Oh god, yeah, I know. I know when you've had kids as well, I swear your brain just melts. I've actually got a teleprompter in the corner because it's like people laugh at me. I'm like, no, but I need it. So otherwise I'd be like, filter or no filter?
Oh, I love a filter. Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry,
I just got
especially.
it the other day. I went on stories and the filter that I always use was gone. I had to go and search for another filter. I'm like,
Oh, what?
so it was the perfect one to like hide my face.
Oh, that's
I know it's
not that you
blushing.
need, not that you need to hide your face, Pamela.
Oh, bless you. But I do have makeup on today, you know. Got on a non-makeup day. Daily or ad hoc posting?
I try to go in stories daily, an ad hoc post.
Yeah, yeah, snap. DIY or outsource it, which is funny. So just to kind of talked about that.
Mainly a DIY girl, I
Yeah,
think so.
yeah. But outsourcing it now. TikTok or Reels?
Or real,
Yeah.
real. I don't even know what TikTok is practically.
Oh, honestly, I highly recommend it. It's
Oh,
great for
really?
cats. It's all about the
Set
cat.
up an account.
Yeah, yeah, definitely just for that. Favorite binge shows on Netflix?
Oh, right now I'm on Schitt's Creek, nearly at the end. I'm
Oh,
I'm actually gutted. I'm actually eking out the last few episodes because I don't want it to finish.
yeah. I get like that. I get so connected to the people that it's, I can't imagine my life without them in it.
Absolutely.
Especially that, because is it not like 7 or 9 seasons long?
It's only 6, and they've said they're not bringing out any more.
Well, oh, yeah, no, I won't ruin the ending, but it definitely ends. Yeah, it's definitely no. I know. I need to find some more because I'm currently watching the one, which was recommended by Jerry.
Okay.
And then yeah, I need more. So any recommendations?
What am I? Oh, but I watch some random stuff. Like right now, I'm watching Travelers. It's got a guy from like Will and Grace in it. Not that he's funny in this, but yeah,
Ah, right, okay.
it's a bit of a weird concept of time travel. But anyway,
Ah, oh, okay, yeah. No, I'll have a look at it as well. Yeah. What did I just finish watching? Bold Type or something like that,
yeah.
which is kind of cool. So it's like it's a little bit Sex and the City-ish, but with a younger cast. And they work for a magazine, like Vogue. It's a bit like Devil Wears Prada kind of thing. It was really, really good.
Oh, was it? That's good.
Yeah.
Because it's only just come on Netflix, whereas I started
Oh, has
watching it when it was
it?
on Prime, but I've not got
Ah,
any much further. The
yeah.
Marvelous Mrs. Maisel on Prime is amazing.
Oh, I'll look at that. Yeah, I've got both. But yeah, no, I need to find something else. I love it when you find something that's really long, because
Yeah,
it's like that's
yeah.
that's me sorted for the next few weeks.
Somebody's saying Marcella. Yes, Marcella is great.
Yes, I've
And
done that. Yeah.
we recently watched, was it the fourth series that was on, is it BBC or ITV or ITV? Which one's it?
STV,
Yeah, STV.
ITV, STV. Yeah. It is, yeah. And what else did I watch from crime? If you don't mind subtitles, Spiral, which is quite good. It's like a French detective thing. It is subtitles. And there's 7 series of that. But
Wow.
yeah, it's quite good as well.
Oh.
But you've got to obviously read. But it's amazing how quickly you get sucked into it. And you don't mind reading the subtitles, but it's quite good.
Is that Netflix again or?
Think it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, all 7 of them. I think it's a BBC one originally. Right, moving into the questions that have been sent in. So if anyone's got any more questions, do start putting them in the comments now. So Oh, kind of going back to the start a little bit here. So do you ever plan on holding physical events when COVID is over?
Oh, probably not. Our membership is quite spread across Scotland. We've got an Irish member, we've got people from Wales, somebody in Orkney, across. So if I was to have an in-person event, then it would be an ad hoc thing rather than.
Yeah, like an annual thing or something. Yeah, it would be
Yeah,
quite cute.
yeah. I just don't have the time to go out and do events, and finding a venue is the most horrendous part of it. That is really the most horrendous part, and not a part I enjoy.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, I can imagine. Yeah, getting the venue, organising all the bits and pieces. Yeah, no, it'd be difficult, wouldn't it? So any networking tips for shy business owners? Funnily enough, we kind of covered this one, it's like I'm the one hiding in the corner at physical events.
So in terms of actually going to an event, or like what you do at the event, or even building up the courage to go.
Never specified. So yeah, just any networking tips. I guess online or offline, but I suppose at the minute it's all online.
It's all online, and I think that's the thing of finding the group that's going to suit you. Figure out exactly the format of the group, because if you are going to be terrified of a pitch, then it's probably not a great one to start with. Sometimes I feel that my group is a bit of an introductory. It's great if you're new to networking and want to build yourself up, and contacting the owner beforehand. Like quite often, like we run buddy services for somebody who's new, so I can pair you up with somebody beforehand. Or if you join as a member, there's like a consultation call with me beforehand. So that's a really great way just to find out more about what it's all about, and to relax yourself and know what to expect, because I think that's half the battle, is like terrified. And yeah, part of what we do as well is always set a question at the start of going into a breakout room. So if you cannot think of anything to say, you have a question to talk to somebody else about. You'll always.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. That would sound fantastic. And then last question, so if anyone's got anything they want to ask, now's the time. What's the best way to start introducing networking into your weekly business habits? Oh, that's a good one.
Ooh. With any habit, and especially something like this, weekly's probably quite a lot to start off with. I would try and maybe aim for one a month. That might be your best bet to start off with that, because that's quite a lot to try and fit in, like 4 events in a month.
Yeah.
And that might be an easier.
But I guess, like, is there other things we could be doing weekly, like your Connect 4 thing, for example, adopt that kind of as a habit?
Oh, absolutely. So Connect 4 is on the basis of 4x4 networking. So this is where every month you kind of think, right, what 4 people have I kind of not spoken to in a while, and I can go and speak to them, to kind of set up like a kind of 50-minute call or something like that, just to reconnect and find out where they're at and all the rest of it. And then try and find 4 brand new people to speak to, and there's different ways of doing that. You could connect with them on social media, or if one of your contacts you're speaking to, ask them if they can introduce you to somebody brand new that you've not spoken to before, or go along to a networking event, whatever your preference. So that is the premise of doing that, and slowly but surely it's that cumulative effect that you'll suddenly find that your network has just completely expanded.
That's good, because that's the sort of thing, if you even broke that down, that's one thing a week, right? Like, one existing contact, one new contact every week.
Yeah. Or do like one new contact one week, one existing contact the next, and kind of build it up like that. And just as with any habit, kind of choose a time that kind of suits you, whether that's having a half-hour call at lunchtime or first thing in the morning, or whatever kind of works for you in that week.
Oh, it's just, you make it sound so accessible and so possible. Do you know what I mean?
But it's almost the same concept as what you should do on social media and Instagram. Like, you wouldn't rush into Instagram and start selling yourself. But why do some people do, and then you quickly realise that that's not what you're supposed to do. And I think it's the same with networking.
Yeah, or posting ghost, you know.
Posting ghost, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I'm getting lots of content ideas here, by the way. This has been really useful.
Brilliant. Well, that's the end of all the questions. I don't think anyone fired another one in, so I think we're all good. I think I'm just having a quick look here. We missed a couple from Jem at the start. She's saying manifesting lockdown. She felt like she did that as well. And she's saying that you get a friendly community. So I'm assuming she must be a member or something, is she?
Oh, yes, Gemma is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was fantastic to have you and get the insight into what Bizmixer is. And thank you so much. It's been so exciting to hear about your story. You are welcome, and I'm sure we'll speak again soon.
Yeah, thanks, Pamela. This is my pleasure to be along here. Thank you so much. This has been so much fun.
Excellent. Take care.
We'll have a good chat.
Yes.
See you later.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.